You also wanted to see the new Leon Sportstourer or ST, this estate version of the all-new generation Seat Leon. Here on Autogefühl, your number one resource for in-depth car reviews and your number one community to discuss cars. With Thomas, we're going to take a detailed look, exterior, interior and the driving experience. We'll compare it to the hatch and we will also compare it to the recently driven Skoda Octavia, the VW Golf and the Audi A3, all four siblings from the Volkswagen Corporation, shorter or longer wheelbase, and we'll go in all of the details. Please join us now in Full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go. Here in the front, the new Leon is a little bit more dramatic. Everything is centered towards the front, more accentuations on the hood. The headlamps even slimmer, new dramatic daytime running light in the form. Headlamps come with LED as a standard, and unlike the other siblings, VW Golf, Audi A3, Skoda Octavia, there's no matrix LED option yet, but we expect it to come maybe with a facelift or with a model year change in like 1 or maybe 2 years or something. That's what we expect, but not available so far. Today we have as comparison an Xcellence trim. That's the other top trim. There's, for example, FR with the sportier touch. We had that with the 5-door hatch recently. You can check it out later. Also linked in the description or a pinned comment. Here the Xcellence trim with a different front grille. Here with these brighter pins on the grille. You know, it adds a little bit more elegance, the FR, than the sportier trim. But both look somewhat sporty. Also we have a different color here today with the white, and the lower bumper is a little bit different. But overall I think still, or once more, a sporty, likable design here in the front. Or what's your take? 4.64 m or 183 inches is the length here of the ST version. That means 27 centimeters or 11 inches longer than the 5-door hatch, and that's just right here, this overhang, because the wheelbase is the same 5-door hatch and the ST. Also same wheelbase with the Skoda Octavia right now, whereas Audi A3 and VW Golf receive the shorter wheelbase of the same MQB platform. Pretty interesting move that this one is more than, you know, more legroom in the rear and so on. So rather probably now a sportier version of the Skoda Octavia. This one here, the ST Estate, of course, the direct competitor to the Skoda Octavia Combi. Well, and then we have the Xcellence trim here today, but with optional 18-inch wheels. It would start with 16-inch wheels, then you can get 17, 18-inch, then so far the maximum. There will be 19-inch available with the Cupra Leon. And you can see when you mount some bigger wheels on this one, on the Xcellence, it also looks sporty in this trim. Chrome frames around the window, main design above the door handle. Yeah, when you put your hands on the outside, you see here, keyless entry, folds the mirrors in, and put your hand on the inside, folds the mirrors out again and opens the vehicle. Roof rail here then for the ST. And I would like to hear from you if you would go for the 5-door or for this one and what you think about the design change. It's just a little bit longer here, but I think it still looks quite sporty here also as the Estate. In the rear you can see this new beautiful light strip that goes across the vehicle. That's a pretty cool design feature. And here again the rest of the signature, so a clean design. And the Xcellence trim also does not feature fake exhaust. I mean, there is this area in the lower part, but I wouldn't call that fake exhaust. So yeah, there's no use for the fake exhaust police today. Whereas in the FR trim, yeah, they had to do something. Then the Leon logo here is very joyful. Overall, I think a very thought through design. So from all these new siblings, probably the Leon, the favorite one design wise. What do you think, guys? Let's vote on that. Other than that, technology wise, you get a base suspension, or you can also optionally get the DCC, dynamic chassis control. That's the adaptive suspension. And then about the rear axle. So the break-even point is 150 horsepower plus. So all engines that have 150 horsepower and included get a torsion beam at the rear. So that's, let's say, the less sophisticated rear axle. and more than 150 horsepower. So the PHEV, the big petrol engine, then the 2-liter TSI later, and also a 2-liter TDI with 150 horsepower and all-wheel drive. That's the only exception. They get the multi-link rear axle suspension, a little bit more sophisticated, a little bit more comfort. And it's the same as in the Skoda Octavia. Audi A3 and VW Golf have it already included with 150 horsepower. That's the difference. Engines, there's a 1-liter 3-cylinder turbo petrol engine with 90 or 110 horsepower. Then today here the 1.5 TSI 4-cylinder 130 or 150 horsepower, the latter one you see here, either manual gearbox or the DSG, the dual clutch transmission. And then there's also a 2-liter TSI, will be available 4-cylinder 190 horsepower. Then the PHEV 1.4 liter made it to an electric motor, 204 horsepower system output, and diesel 2-liter TDI with 115 or 150 horsepower, the latter one also with all-wheel drive. So then there will be a TGI, the CNG engine 1.5 liter. And as I said, always front-wheel drive unless you have this 2-liter TDI with 150 horsepower. The all-wheel drive version of the TDI will also feature a multi-link rear axle. Other than that, you need to have more than 150 horsepower, so either the 2-liter 190 horsepower or the PHEV to have a multi-link rear axle suspension. First of all, door closing sound. Very solid, cool. So as I said, today we have the Xcellence trim. There's a grey fabric insert here at the inside of the door, really high class. Just the decal element, I think, on the inside of the door looked a little bit better in the FR. Here, soft touch at the top inside of the door. Then reasonable door pockets as well. Xcellence trim entry badge. Then there's this wooden style decal element insert. It also has a matte feeling, so it's very good imitation. Then soft touch dashboard with some nice structure. Excellent steering wheel, but here's some cost saving. The X is just printed now on the steering wheel and not a real 3D thing. Left side of the steering wheel to set the cruise control. More details to that while driving and the volume knob. Right side to control the digital instruments. Also more to that with the screen. Here the Xcellence seats are really excellent. They're good in comfort, and also here with a nice grey fabric. It's like a Scandinavian furniture styling with some brown leatherette accentuations and some brown microfiber accentuations, so a detailed work. It looks a little bit cozier, but also a little bit more conservative than the FR trim. But I mean, that's just on how you prefer it. Overall, I think the Xcellence trim here looks a little bit more premium than the FR trim, but the FR trim looks a little bit sportier and younger, so depending on what you desire. And now let's get inside. Easy entry and a nice, good seating position, pretty neutrally balanced and very comfortable. These seats here also with some side support, but without caging you in. I think they are, pretty good here. Also with me, when I put the seat all the way down with 1.86 m or 6'1", then there's plenty of headroom left. Will be a little bit less when you pick the optional panoramic roof, which then of course has its pros and cons definitely. Very slim A-pillar, by the way, so you have a good side there. And here manual seats pumping up your, but there are also electric ones available. Then steering wheel, manual support here, up and down, in and out, and with a very wide way in a smooth process, so you can really find a good position right here. Now the interior overview, here again also soft touch with this nice structure. This is really high class, and also again this matte wood effect here. It's really cool, well done. So again, Xcellence trim has a very good premium touch to it, and also if you compare it to the other siblings, I think just the Audi A3 stands out. They have put it a little bit more sophisticated, especially because they have still physical buttons. Here everything integrated right there. You always go left side with 10.25-inch digital instruments, and on the right side either 8-inch smaller screen or this one, the optional 10-inch screen with integrated climate control and integrated sound control, but I would always use here on the left side of the steering wheel. Zoom needles to that. This vent is put a little bit lower, definitely. Steering wheel is good size, good grip. If you want it without animal skin service, you only can pick the base trim so far. That would be the only possibility. And on the lower middle area, there's an inductive charging pad, but you don't need it when you put your phone in with cable anyway. Carplay either with cable or wirelessly. Two USB-C devices, or you can also put this adapter in there. Then there's a 6-speed manual gearbox in this one here today, but also optional DSG, then shift by wire with a small DSG shifting lever. You can check it out in the other review. Start-stop engine button here has this heartbeat function, little emotional feature, stolen from Jaguar. Then couples, not adaptive, but different sizes, and a nice leatherette armrest cover. You put it up, have a 12-volt power supply, and a little bit more space. And then more details to the infotainment system here, the optional sound system. You can have some presets, how bass heavy you want to have it, for example. The overview of the whole menu, I think, is not too good actually. This would be one of the main menu views. This is the other one, and using it while driving is quite distracting indeed. GPS looks like this. I think the visualization is a little bit old school. Or what's your take on that? You can also use the voice input, for example, drive me to Berlin, Friedrichstraße. I have to pronounce this in an English way a little bit.
Search for Pio is nearby. Please select a POI from the list.
Yeah, I mean that's actually quite correct. So I'll accept that. Then Apple CarPlay. Here we go. So that's the integration right there. Oh, let's also play some music. And as I said, it's actually quite nice, quite bass intensive, the system, but it also depends on the preset. But I think for a compact vehicle, we can be satisfied with the sound it gives. So this is the integration then of the CarPlay right there. Android Auto also available with cable only then. The climate unit can be accessed right here, so I can put where the air should come from, but doing that while driving, hardly possible. And then you have these sliders here to increase or decrease temperature. I don't know, to me too complicated here. And with the volume, you can also use voice input. Set temperature to 22 degrees.
No problem.
That's working, but yeah, maybe too complicated. I still prefer manual climate knobs, definitely, yeah. I don't know. What's your take on that? Overall, I mean, it looks quite fancy. You can have a lot of different possibilities here to change the assistance systems, for example. Also background lighting, you can change then here, nice ambient lighting. You can see that in the tunnel very soon when we drive in our driving part. Driving profile about the DCC selection for that. Yeah. But I think overall it could have been done a little bit easier, that it's more accessible for the user. Or what do you think? And last but not least, the rear view camera. The resolution is okay, not the best one, but I think okay. Strange, it looked a little bit worse in the Skoda Octavia, but it might have also been the weather, I don't know. At the same time, you can have this PDC view at the same time. And now the digital instruments, they are very useful. By the way, here the check engine light is totally normal. It disappears when I really start up the engine, like in every Seat, Audi, Volkswagen, and so on. So, different views are available. This classic analog style alike, for example, then this more modern one, for example, or then included with the map. Then you can control it with the right thumb on the steering wheel, that you change the information in each gauge and so a lot of possibilities, and actually very well to read. Well, another thing that is missing for the Leon, no head-up display option, so there's nothing here. That could also be something that is maybe introduced then in 2 years or 3 years with the facelift. Let's see. And the new car key looks like this. It's the same also as for the VW Golf and the Skoda Octavia. They all share this new key now. And another example, by the way, for no real physical buttons is here the left pad, left next to the steering wheel. So when you, for example, want to change the light modes here, side light or something, well, probably the normal car user won't change it that often, but I also prefer to have a real knob here. Yeah, that's where everything is going. And the rear area, hard pack at the inside of the doors. Yeah, that's a thing. Could be better, definitely. Then the question is how often you do touch that. Yeah, leave me comments to that. But also nice fabric interior here on the inside of the doors. And these high-class floor mats with the brown leather red accentuations also for the rear passengers. And it's also very comfortable here in the rear. Good legroom also. This is a difference than to the predecessor. So more legroom in the rear. And at least, you know, the same, maybe at some point, depending on the seat setup, maybe even more than in the Skoda Octavia. Yeah, it should be the same by the same wheelbase. But then again, it depends on the seating position and also how thick the seat is. I think recently on the Skoda Octavia we had the seat itself was maybe a little bit thicker, I don't know. But again, good room we have here available on the rear. That's also a little bit more than in the VW Golf or in the Audi A3. That's also again the longer wheelbase. No panoramic roof, 1.86 or 6'1". A lot of headroom also for the rear passengers. So the Leon here, for tall people in the rear, actually quite perfect. Isofix at the outside parts, they're very well hidden. You can already flip the seats from here if you like. 2/3, 1/3 split, or a ski hatch hidden behind this one here. And then there are also cup holders, not adaptive. And then there's a separate climate unit here for the rear with 2 USB-C chargers. This is already included if you pick one of the higher trims. Flipping the logo opens the hatch, 617 liters. That's 30 liters more than before, whereas the hatch trunk remained the same. And here also put some luggage in here. You can also put it in a vertical way. And here the cover works like this. Good rails on the side, and you press once, and then it folds to the back like this. Actually, pretty nice. So very versatile, and of course this area, it is very practical. Recently in the Mercedes CLA, this was actually horrible because there was a wide, loading sill. This area was more narrow, and you would hit all the stuff here. And here it's actually wide and nice. So then here, replacement tire underneath, and some measurements for you. Because the length of this trunk here is just a little bit over 1 meter, and the same also counts for the width right here, and the height up to the cover is, that's the radius. So here just a little bit more than 40 centimeters. And we can also flip the seats right from here. Good mechanism, and you see the seats also directly flip. That's cool. So very well done, very well executed, and to my seating position it would be more than 1.80 meters. And the overall loading sill here, by the way, this is here a height of 65 centimeters. And last but not least, what about the electric closing with child safety test? Yeah, reasonable. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge with the all-new Seat Leon, this time as ST, the Sportstourer, or Kombi as we say in Germany, or Estate, Wagon, however you want to call it. They also with the 1.5 TSI, the turbo petrol engine, but the manual gearbox. And that means manual gearbox, no combination with the mild hybrid system. That is so far reserved for the automatic gearbox for the DSG, the dual clutch transmission. Also 18-inch wheels are mounted on this very vehicle here in the Xcellence or Xcellence trim. And there's the very same suspension, means it's the DCC, the optional one. So the optional DCC, dynamic chassis control, where we can pick the driving modes, and also then the suspension reacts on these driving modes, staying in comfort so far. But once again, the rear axle is torsion beam here. 150 horsepower means torsion beam in the rear for the Leon and the Octavia, whereas for the Golf and the A3, 150 horsepower would already mean multi-link rear axle suspension, the more sophisticated, even more comfortable one. So Leon and Octavia, you have to go for the plug-in hybrid version, or generally saying you have to go for a version that has more than 150 horsepower. Yeah, a little bit disappointing, that's for sure. However, the suspension is still good, it's still a good ride. It's just a little bit more elaborated in the Golf and in the A3 with the multi-link, or if you have a version of this vehicle or the Octavia and you have the multi-link rear axle suspension. So if you want the best comfort, pick the optional DCC and pick an engine that is more than 150 horsepower here for the Leon. I think the plug-in hybrid will be a very interesting choice for sure. Other than that, the manual gearbox we have here today is very well executed. The shifting lever here is quite short, crisp and sporty. So when you put in the gears, it doesn't give you too much resistance, but still gives you a feedback that, you know, have some kind of a sporty feeling that you put in the gears. So I think very well executed. And also it's not too long on how you shift, you know, between the gears. As for the fuel economy, it's the same engine but with a manual gearbox. With some manufacturers, the manual gearboxes are way less fuel consuming than the automatic gearbox. For example, Mazda is a good example. When you pick the automatic gearbox at a Mazda vehicle, you will always have quite noticeable higher consumption. With Volkswagen Corporation, that's not necessarily the case because the DSG is also quite efficient. So in a lot of cases, you'll even save more fuel with the DSG, although, you know, maybe it adds some weight, but, you know, barely noticeable. However, we can approximately score the very same consumption here. So MHEV, it does somehow work, yes, with the new system there. Maybe it's a little advantage, but I think the crucial thing is that the engine itself is quite efficient now, this 1.5 TSI, as long as you don't hammer it all the way through. Talked about in the first Leon review, if you go like full speed motorway, of course, as usual, consumption will go up, but even that, some 8 liters per 1 kilometer is okay. But here, once again, about 5 liters per 1 kilometers, which is a little bit less than 50 mpg US and even more than 50 mpg UK. And that's a very good result, both counting for the automatic and the manual transmission. Suspension here, again, I think is doing a quite good job overall. Again, it could do a better job when we have a bigger engine, but still, you know, for most needs, it's actually quite good. If you want also more comfort in the lower trim vehicle, then go for smaller wheels. These 18-inch here are, of course, also reducing the comfort just a little bit. What's always cool with the Leon is the great steering input. Once again, in this generation, a direct steering input, so commands are transported very well onto the road. Of course, yeah, it's you know, it's his way to, you know. Sometimes, you know, people thank you for stopping, although, you know, they have to, you know, they have the right to go. But yeah, that's maybe the case because some others, you know, ignore that, you know, they don't have the right to go. Well, back to the review. So shifting is actually quite fun in here, so don't mind having a manual gearbox, although being stuck in traffic and so on, the auto gearbox, of course, will always be a little bit more comfortable. Again, good steering here when you're going left and right, and also the suspension doesn't move all the way, although we're in the comfort mode. Most of the time I would prefer that. When we are in the sports mode, suspension gets stiffer, also a little bit more stiffness from the steering wheel, and this also boosts, you know, the car a little bit more as for the sporty experience. But picking the driving modes is more about suspension here when you have the optional DCC, because when you do have the manual gearbox, you do most things with shifting yourself, you know. When you have the auto gearbox and then you put in the sports mode, gears are turned up higher, shifting is changed, but that's not the case here anyway, so it doesn't matter that much. We'll now go to the motorway, show you one first acceleration, and later, a couple of minutes left, We will also do high-speed motorway today. Well, some of you would asked me to do that here with the Leon ST then. Talk about a little bit more about the noise insulation. So, and now we're about 50 kilometers, third gear. Let's go. And that's 80. I mean, that was third gear now, so that's also showing you like what happens when you accelerate in a higher gear. See, the engine is not like super powerful, but definitely more than enough. Of course, 50 kilometers an hour, you can also start in second gear if you really want to push it, if you want to shift back. I'll also again change that you can see how it performs, when we go through the lower gears, but just as a comparison in here. Then I can also put to sixth gear. Sixth gear would not be that you accelerate more or much anymore. This would be rather for a good fuel economy and rolling and so on. Noise insulation wise, here at 80 kilometers an hour is still very good. A very good neutral and balanced handling feeling. The Estate and the Hatch have the very same wheelbase. It's just a longer overhang here that you have the Estate trunk. So the overall weight distribution is a little bit different here, yes, but can you feel it? I would say yes, you can feel it a little bit, that the Hatch is maybe notch sportier, but it's not the biggest difference, because big difference usually derive from wheelbase changes, and here just because of the different weight distribution. Maybe it's even better because you have the heavy engine in the front. Maybe it's even a little bit better to have some more weight at the rear. You can maybe also argue for that. So overall totally satisfied, and I wouldn't pick the Hatch or the Estate for a difference in driving feeling, because it's almost the same, and probably that's the good thing then for Estate buyers, for Sportstourer customers. So about the assistance systems, we can set the adaptive cruise control here, left side of the steering wheel, and there we go. So, and the interesting thing is, so with plus and minus here, you go the 10 kilometer steps. And the thing I forgot last time, so heads off, got the tip from you. Actually, when you put resume or set, then you can do 1 kilometer steps. So they didn't, put a separate unit for that, and I think it's a good idea. It's just that the customer has to know. You have to find out that it works in that way. So let's say here I'm at 80 kilometers an hour, and now the traffic sign recognition actually increased the speed already to 100. So traffic sign recognition now included. There's the blind spot monitor integrated here in the inside of the door. It's a very beautiful idea. When I put the turning indicator, it flashes, giving me a straighter warning. So here now at 100 kilometers now, I can here go 10 kilometers minus or plus, and 1 kilometer increase when I put resume, and 1 less when I put my thumb on set. So that's how it works, and I think it's good and space-saving idea actually. So why not? Again, customer just has to know. I can't really guess, who would have known that. Very interesting. Here also again a good performance, how stable and calm the car is on the motorway, and that's also one of the things I found here with the new Leon generation. What's the difference besides of the new fancy infotainment stuff, which is to some and to me not that fancy, because I really preferred the more simple unit in the previous generation, even though this unit is able to do more. The main difference in driving is to me indeed motorway driving, because of the longer wheelbase, more sovereignty in the ride, more calmness. Noise insulation I think has also been improved, and the car just feels a little bit more grown up on the road. Here again, good handling, superb. How smooth everything is from the reactions. And now we go to 50 kilometers again, but start in the second gear and see how that goes. plop, that's 130 kilometers an hour. I had to cancel the acceleration here now because I need to let the beamer pass. But I think you got a good impression, and we could easily turn up the second gear there to 90. And yeah, I think it's quite good acceleration, definitely more than enough power. And now we let's go to 160 kilometers an hour. That's, I think, a good speed, and then put it to the sixth gear. So we're staying now at 160 kilometers an hour, and I think noise insulation is still quite decent. Of course, we had, you know, more silent cars in a like bigger premium segment and so on. But I mean, considering it's a compact size car, I think it's still quite okay. And if you ask me difference to the predecessor, I wouldn't say it's worse. If there's a difference, then in high speed there's an improvement. And here also lane change at higher speeds, good. Brake pedal feeling now. So people told me it was criticized by not giving you the best feeling, like a delayed feeling. It's a tough question, maybe. Yeah, maybe like in the very first, you know, centimeter something. Yeah, I think it's not too bad, but I think I know what people mean. Question is also if that's changing throughout time when the brakes are being used a little bit more. Yeah, I think I know what people mean by, you know, some lacking feeling there, but I don't think it's a crucial thing indeed. So to me it's actually fine. Maybe I had cars that had a better brake feeling, you know, better with red ambient light you can see here at the moment. You can also change it here. So you see an internal. It's quite nice. To a cold style. Yeah. So I think I'm fine with the brake pedal feeling. Again, maybe there might be a better one, but I think there are also way worse ones, definitely. So again, good motorway feeling here from the vehicle, and perfect here at 100 kilometers an hour. Then the noise insulation is really very well suitable as for that. So if I would go for the hatch or the ST, driving wise, it doesn't make too much of a difference. So yeah. The ST is just better as for the flexibility, so I could easier put a bicycle with demounted front tire in there, so that to me would be the main reason to go for the ST. You again exiting in the motorway, and once again such a smooth and controlled riding feeling. Interesting, by the way, we just a few days ago had the Skoda Octavia in the new generation. They share the same wheelbase now. Indeed, they convey different driving feelings, so Seat rather found a little sportier setup. That's what they want to do, also according to the younger target group. But of course you also have to remember tires. These here are 18-inch wheels with summer tires, so not so much tire left. And with the Octavia we had 17-inch with winter tires, more tire dampening. Winter tires are softer in their compound, summer tires are harder. So this is also one of the major difference we felt there, because in comparison to this here now, this ride, the Octavia felt more wobbly, so to say. That might a little bit be due to the setup, but even more there's another Leon coming, like Leon FR previous generation. So I think, you know, these differences that I felt also in reviews, you always have to watch it. What's the wheel size? What's the tire choice, you know? I mean, primarily like winter or summer tires, then maybe also like the exact tire or something, because this can really heavily influence on how something is being rated. So always, you know, take that into account. As for winter and summer tires, indeed, when we test here in Germany, then we always have winter tires mounted on most test vehicles from October to April. The GLA was an exception because there was an event planned in Spain, it was cancelled due to Corona, and then the car was in March still or already on summer tires. That was one exception. That then beginning of, you know, end of April and in May and so on, until October, all the vehicles we test are on summer tires. And if we test in normal warm regions, warm US states and in Southern Europe, they are always on summer tires, but definitely a heavy influence on the ride. So once again, I think pretty nice experience here with the Seat Leon. We'll head on to the motorway once more because I want to talk about, like lane keeping assist and so on. Let's see about that. Also good. Oh, there's another Leon with a hatch. So you see a lot of Seat Leon in Germany driving around. Been selling pretty well. Recently, of course, got also internal competition from the Seat Ateca and the Seat Arona, that people switched from Ibiza and Leon to the SUV counterparts, for example. Good view through the mirrors, although they look quite designish, they also deliver a good job. So what I want to test is when I have the manual gearbox and the cruise control, does it stay when I just shift? Yeah, that's nice. So it's not cancelled when I just hit the clutch and shift. That's actually quite good. So now at 80 kilometers an hour, and let's see how the car's keeping us here. Yeah, there we go, you see it? So you're supposed to have your hands on the steering wheel all the time, and then the car was keeping us on the lane here. And also with just a smooth steering process. Now told me, put your hands on the steering wheel, dirty Thomas. So I think very well done. I don't like these very hectic reactions from the cars when they bring you back to the road again and you're shocked. Probably just by that. Again in tunnel, you can see some more of the ambient lighting, beautiful done. We'll go for FR or the Xcellence. I think the Xcellence just looks a little bit more premium here. The FR was really nice, but to me the Xcellence here at this moment way to go. So let's see. Yeah, that small commercial vehicle wants to do some racing, obviously. So we're now at about 100 kilometers or 60 miles an hour. Now I'm of course in the third gear, so what's the acceleration when we are already at speed? Let's go. That's 150. And you see here, the racing obviously stopped for this Renault Master. Back to third gear. Fourth gear, definitely sporty enough for me. So that there's a Honda one pass or not. I hate that. I really hate that. And then you make way and then people don't overtake. Well, here we go. That's the typically everyday war on German motorway where there's no speed limit. That's the disadvantage of it. Sometimes people then cannot decide how fast they want to go. So once again on high speed, now at 180 kilometers an hour, and still a very stable and neutral handling feeling. Noise insulation, I mean, considering the speed, it's okay. So now the brake feeling. Yeah, maybe the brake pedal is a little bit artificial, so to say. It comes quite early then overall. I think like the first centimeters maybe you lack a little bit of feeling, then it comes very suddenly. Maybe it's that what is being criticized, but still, I think you can very well get used to it. And I think, to me, the most important thing is, I think it's always dangerous when you have brake pedals which set in very late, because in so many situations, people tend to go, don't press the brake too hard and maybe think, yeah, maybe it's not needed to brake that hard. So I think it's better when the brakes are more sensitive. That helps you then in doubtful situations overall. Once again, setting the cruise control right here, pretty satisfied. Now, of course, the consumption went up. High-speed motorway, then more towards the earlier mentioned 8 liters per 1 kilometers, but that's exactly the same as for the DSG. So then the consumption will be somewhat in between, like 5 liters minimum when you really drive fuel saving, and 8 liters maximum when you floor it out. But I think that's a quite reasonable span, So probably no reason to go for the diesel then here as an alternative to the 1.5 TSI. I think that's actually totally fine. So, and when you won't throw it out like I did now just for testing purposes, you will also score a normal average, which is way better and close to 5. So once again, good presentation here from the Seat Leon. I think the strength of this vehicle, be it torsion beam or multi-link in the rear, doesn't matter for the overall conclusion, because you can still say it's still a Cooper attacker. I think it's still a very, very good compromise between comfort and sportiness. Has some more, emotional touch here in this compact segment, the Seat Leon. It's a little bit younger in the feeling than the VW Golf, although it has the long wheelbase now. So, it is definitely now more family-ish. So we can rather say it's then the sportier variant to the Skoda Octavia. And now to the conclusion for today with the all-new Seat Leon Sportstourer. First of all, there's of course more practical value if you compare the ST here to the 5-door hatch version. There's no 3-door version anymore. They reduced that one due to cost savings. I think I would definitely go for this one just to have more flexibility than in the trunk. Driving wise, it doesn't matter that much. It drives as good as sporty as the 5-door hatch actually, because there's the same wheelbase. If you compare it to the Skoda Octavia, this one here has a little sportier setup, and Audi A3 and VW Golf drive a little bit more comfortable because of the more elaborate rear axle suspension. However, Leon and Octavia will also get it in the higher horsepower specs, so you can also even that out then. Exterior wise, there's still a very sporty styling. FR or Xcellence trim, I think I would rather go here today with the Xcellence trim, because you can make it look sporty when you mount some bigger wheels on it, but it has a little bit more elegance with more bright accentuations, and it does not have fake exhaust in the rear. Also, the interior has something special with the wooden decor and seat fabric there, but it's of course a matter of preference. You have now reasonable space on the interior, even more than before, especially due to the longer wheelbase. This is now a good family estate here in the compact segment with more rear legroom than a lot of the different competitors. Digitalization throughout the cockpit, yeah, it offers more possibilities on the one hand. On the other hand, the controlling function is sometimes a little bit complicated. That would be something we could criticize. Other than that, everything feels good and solid, and that also counts for the driving, for example, also for the good fuel economy. So, what do you think? Also tune in to the reviews of the 5-door version here, Audi A3, VW Golf, Skoda Octavia, compare all these, and also tell us which one of these siblings here, VW Golf, Audi A3, Seat Leon, Skoda Octavia, would you go now for in the new generations? Thank you so much, tune in next time.